The basics of functions. Let's solve a problem together. Below, we have code that prints out two different series of statements based on whether the student is new to a computer science class or not. So we have a variable student. Right now it is set equal to new. If student is new, then we're going to print these four statements. Else, if student is not set to new, we're going to print these four statements. You can see that there are a few lines of code that are repeated in both scenarios, highlighted in red. So whether or not the student is new, it's going to print, "Hello there, welcome to CS, I am your teacher, Anne." The only statement that's different is "you're new" or "you're not new." When programming, we want to avoid redundant code as much as possible. Whenever you catch yourself about to write the same lines of code over and over, there is a more efficient way. Now that you have gotten comfortable with programming and some of the constructs of code, we can discuss different styles. So far, you've been programming with what is called the top-down approach. This means your program is read linearly, step by step, line by line, like this. This is what your programs have looked like so far. However, programs can get very, very long depending on their purpose and how many tasks they are meant to do. When the programs become giant lists of disorganized or repetitive code, they become hard to follow and prone to errors. However, what if we instead take out the code that is repeated over and over again, put it in its own section, and simply call it when needed, like below. So here we're calling this piece of code here twice. The code no longer repeats and looks much better. What we did was create a function in Python. This is a grouping of code which performs a specific task. Both the previous examples will perform the same task. However, by grouping code, we begin to see the pieces as objects, each with their own purpose that can be called to when needed, as opposed to the top-down approach. Other programming languages sometimes refer to functions and procedures as methods. There are two overall types of functions. Built-in functions. These already exist in Python. We have been calling to many of them using keywords since we began programming. Some examples include print, len, append, and insert. The second type are user-defined functions. Programmers create these as needed. They are specifically written for individual programs. The syntax to define a function is here. Def, space, the name of the function, parentheses, colon, an indent, and then the body of code. A function's name cannot include spaces. If it is multiple words, camel case notation must be used, or underscores. To call or use the function, we also use the term invoke the function. You can do so with simply writing the function name wherever you want to use it in the program, like this, the name of the function with parentheses. You must define a function in Python first before calling it. Let's revisit our first example. First, we defined the function using def, which is short for definition, and parentheses, and a colon after the name of the function. The name of the function is print welcome. Then, indented is the code segment we want the function to have. So we want it to run these three statements. Print hello there, print welcome to CS, print I am your teacher, Anne. Once defined, we can call to the function as many times as we need using the function name and parentheses. So here, if the student is new, we're going to first call this function, which will print these three statements here. Then it will print you're new. Else, if the student is not new, it will call the function, print these three statements, and then print you're not new. When a function is called, the computer will stop running code sequentially and jump to the function. It will then execute the code inside the function before jumping back to the point immediately after the function was called and continuing on.